Well, welcome to another Family First Wednesday from Montana's Peer Network. My name is Kayla. I am a family peer supporter at the Children's Clinic in Billings, but I can serve families across the state of Montana. I have a child with an autism diagnosis and anxiety, and I also have my own behavioral health diagnoses. So this month we are being joined by Step Inc. I don't know if that's the full name. And so Ray is gonna hop on, or she's already on. Sorry, she's gonna she has a presentation for us, I'm assuming, and dive into the resources and the services that they provide. So I'll let you take it away, and we will have time for questions at the end. So if anybody has questions, I will watch the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I will kind of keep an eye on that too for you, Rhea, so you can just keep going. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kayla, for the introduction. I'll go ahead and share my presentation here. I can get it in present mode. Perfect. Awesome. So yeah, like Kayla said, I'm with STEP, and that the full acronym is Supports and Techniques for Empowering People. Like Kayla said, my name is Rhea Herman. I am the program manager at STEP. This is my dog Tanger. If you ever go on our website, you'll notice that we don't use professional headshots or pictures to identify our leadership team. Rather, we use our pets and animals that we enjoy. So I figured I'd keep the tradition with my dog Tanger here. And here's my contact information. I'll have it again at the end of the presentation too. But yeah, I am program manager here. I have been at STEP for almost 6 years now, and I have held a few different positions during my time, most recently being the program manager. And so currently I oversee our family education and support services and our life enrichment services, which are the two programs I will talk about the most today. But before I do that, I have to click the screen. I do want to share what our vision, mission, and values is as being part of the leadership team. I have had the privilege to watch our leadership team really redevelop our vision, mission, and values in the last few years. And it is a really core piece to our agency, how we make decisions about our services. This applies to our clients, our programs, and our staff. So our vision is to strive to build an equitable, just, and compassionate community where everyone is connected and empowered to create the life that they choose. And then how we do that is that we collaborate to overcome and eliminate those barriers to each person's full participation in the community in order to deepen their capacity to pursue the growth and change they seek. And then our values are inclusion, interconnection, and innovation. And I hope probably by the end of my presentation that you can really hear our mission, vision, and values and how that drives all that we do. Oops, wrong direction. So just a little bit of history about STEP. We have been in the community for 40 plus years, but I still every day get the joy of reintroducing people in our community to what our services are. And I think it's kind of interesting to understand where we came from and how we got to this place. So we were developed, our agency was in the late 60s from the love and dedication of 3 mothers in the Billings community. At this time, there was a lot of social movements going on about the ways in which we treat and care for people, adults and children with disabilities. At the time, the main treatment was institutions. And there was a lot of social movements saying that maybe that wasn't the best way to take care of people. And these 3 mothers believed that their children deserved to be raised in their own communities and in their own homes, if possible. And in instances where children couldn't be with their families or in their homes due to their needs, that they at least belonged in their own community where they knew the parks and the schools and the street names, not removed into a different community. And at this time, institutional care was grossly underfunded and grossly undersupported. And as many of us may know, the treatment that people were receiving at these institutions were not quality care. And so there was a lot of movement to give people the care and support that they deserve to achieve that, which they sought to work towards. And so these mothers decided that they wanted to start something different. They wanted to work off the back of these social movements. And so they decided that they wanted to open a group home. And it took some time, but they shortly after the 1960s were able to secure some funding and open the first group home for their own children. And then they were able to welcome other children in the community. So these children with disabilities avoided institutional care. So some years after that, these social movements continued to push our services and community in the direction for the better, and state funding started to expand that allowed what we know today as the home and community-based waivers for these services to be paid for by the state for people to have the options of something else besides institutions. And so we were able to expand our services to provide supports to children and adults with disabilities in their own homes, group homes, and in their communities. And we continue to grow from there. And over the last 40 plus years, we have provided lots of different kinds of services. Our agency has changed and evolved with the times, with what the state, services are allowable, what our community needs, what our clients needs. And over the years, we've provided supports in ways of learning, advocacy, relationships, vocation, livelihood, retirement, respite, and so many more. With our latest new, not so new, in the last 5 or so years, venture being expanding our services into resident recovery, sober living homes, and providing people support as they work on their path through addiction. So that's kind of how we came to be. What we offer now, who we are today, is we have 3 major programs. Like I just said, our renewal recovery residence for people working on their sobriety, our family education and support services, and our life enrichment services, which are the 2 that I oversee. I don't oversee the renewal recovery residences. I can answer a few questions, but I do have the contact name for that person if anyone is interested in getting more information about that. So I'll start with our family education and support services. This is the program that I first joined STEP. So I've been working in this program the longest, and it's very close to my heart, as are all programs, but I'm the most versed in this one. So just some quick facts about what you can expect with our family education and support services. So this is an in-home service, historically in-home. That's where it was first designed. But luckily, if anything good was to come out of COVID, was the understanding that virtual services can be really beneficial to families also. So even though we would prefer to be in someone's home, that does not eliminate someone from accessing our services. If someone is not comfortable with us being in their home, that's totally okay. We can meet them in the community. They can come to our office. We can meet them at the coffee shop. We've met at waiting rooms in between therapy appointments. We've met at Special Olympics practices. Wherever someone will have us, we will go there. There are benefits for us coming into the home and understanding how your routine works, but we can be flexible. And we also offer virtual options too for families who find that to be a better method, either over the phone or Google Hangouts, Zoom. It was really nice, when the weather gets bad or where kids get sickly, that we still have the option to connect through those virtual means. Our services age range, who can qualify for the services, are ages 3 up till 21. A child who is 8 and older for our services will need to have developmental disability eligibility established to qualify for our services. So if you are someone who has a child in that age range, or your provider wanting to refer someone in that age range and you don't know if that kiddo has that process done or not, please still give us a call. We can talk through what that process looks like, direct you to what paperwork you would need to fill out, or help you decide if that's something that someone would need or not. So please still feel free to call, and we can talk through what that would be if they're in that age range. And then a child, to qualify for our services, they have to have a developmental delay or disability to do so. And that's something that we assess for. And I'll talk about that, what that assessment looks like a little bit later. While our office is located in Billings. We do travel and serve 11 counties. So our region is the Yellowstone, Carbon, Bighorn, Stillwater, Sweetgrass, Golden Valley, Muscle Wheatland, Judith Basin, Fergus, and Petroleum. If you're someone who is from outside of those counties and are still interested in services, please still reach out. We just serve this region, but this is a statewide service. So every county has this option. And we'd be happy to connect you for who provides those services in that county. And then we are contracted with the Early Childhood Intervention Services here in Billings also, which is awesome. They do the 0 to 3 and we do the 3 and older. So if you're a family who has worked with ECI or you're more familiar with those services, our services can look really similar. We have a similar framework, use a lot of similar paperwork, plan writing, things like that. So also, if you're in ECI services, they do a really good job of talking to families about what our services are and giving families that option for a referral to us once they age out. And then likewise, if you are working with us and you have a younger sibling in your care and your family also that you're having concerns for, it's really easy for us to refer you to ECI and get you hooked up with them too. So it's a really great relationship that we have. And then the framework for our services is really coaching and strength-based. The parent is the expert for our services. We have staff members who are, who have lots of education, lots of training, lots of experience, have worked with families and kids with disabilities for a really long time. But the parent is always the expert. From family to family, each situation is different. And just because that skill or what we brought to a family worked really well in one home doesn't mean it's going to work well in the next home. So the parent is the driver. It's one thing for us to suggest something, and it's another thing for it to work in a family's routine. So we want to really make sure we're deferring to them and that the family is leading that relationship because we want it to be, what we bring to the family, want it to be a long-lasting effect and impactful. And then our goal is always to work ourselves out of a job. I always tell my staff that the resources and skills and strengths that a family needs to reach their goals were there before we came into the home, and they'll be there once we leave, right? They have everything they need. We're just there to help them hone it, identify it, and use it to their advantage. And then our goal is that families know their strengths, know their skills, know their resources, and know how to best advocate for their child and know what that path looks like so that they don't need us anymore and we can move on and help the next family.
Maria, there's a question. So you answered the first question. Do they have the service in Flathead County? But I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can, if you want to shoot me an email, or I can try and pull that information up at the end and grab that for you. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but yes, they do have those services in Flathead County.
And then does it have to be, she said, how do you prove developmental disability? That's physical as well, or just cognitive?
Yes, so we'll talk about this in the next slide, but we do assess client or children to qualify for our services, and we use a developmental screening, and we do go over all the 5 major domains. So it doesn't have to be just cognitive; it can be cognitive, physical, social, emotional, adaptive, and communication to qualify. Great questions. Yeah. So some of our goals, some of the, breaking down a little bit more of how we work with families and what we want to work towards. So first of all, we really want to have opportunities to shape, children's social skills and behaviors when those are concerns. A lot of families are coming to us with concerns that their kiddo don't have social skills or the social skills they would prefer, or sometimes there's challenging behaviors or age inappropriate behaviors, which, makes sense. A lot of the kids that are qualifying for our services are showing that their, social emotional skills or adaptive skills are much lower than their chronological age. And so we're trying to help families understand what that means and then provide resources to building those skills. We talk about how we can model those skills with siblings in our play, social stories, how we can maybe give other visual representations of what good social skills look like. And then while we aren't behavioral therapists by any means, we do help walk families through potential solutions for challenging behaviors or behaviors families would like to see channeled into positive solutions. Like I said, we don't have the answer for everything. However, there is something to be said about a second set of eyes and a second set of ears, for someone else to see that situation and help you identify what that trigger may be. Uh, you know, as a parent myself, I know what it's like to be in the thick of it, right? And hard to look outside your own day to day. And so to have someone else come in and say, wow, this is what you're doing really well. I love how you're responding to this. Or here's maybe, what does it look like when you respond this way? Or what does it look like when we do this? So just someone to talk you through that and maybe see if there's some other solutions that we can bring to your home that will have long lasting effects. And if we can't, and if those challenging behaviors are bigger than what we can help with, and hooking us up with other resources in the community that might be more beneficial. We strive to increase families' knowledge about their child's development, their growth, and understanding of their child's disability. Some families come to us new with a diagnosis, and that's a big moment, right? There's a lot of learning and growing that happens in that moment, and changing of perspectives. And we really want to walk with families through that when we can, and provide that education of what, as we tackle new skills, what that means for a child with autism, right? What that means with a child with Down syndrome or ADHD or things like that. What those challenges mean doesn't necessarily mean that your child is failing, just means that we're going to have to look at this different. We're going to have to approach this different. This might take more time, and that's okay. So walking families through that, understanding what that means for their child, and providing that education when we can. We also really would love to reduce the negative effects of stress on families. We're not case managers, but there are lots of resources in our communities. And if families are struggling, if they're stressed to put food on the table, pay bills, obviously we can't take those financial burdens off their plate, but we know that there's other resources in our community that can help with that. So making sure that people know what those resources are, so that maybe we can eliminate some of those stresses and identify those things. Because living in a state of stress makes it hard to I always say, we can't work on tying shoes until we know that there's going to be food on the table, right? So making sure we address those immediate needs first before we try to have those other conversations about development. And, again, when we can't be the solution, finding who can be. And then we really like to bring a lot of teaching strategies into all that we do. Families, we're setting goals with our families about things they want to achieve. Whether it's communication, toilet training, riding a bike, making your own meals, walking safely on the sidewalk to the school bus. We're setting those goals with our families, and then we are talking through how we achieve that and bringing some strategies and recommendations and ways, social stories, visual schedules, those specific coaching words, how we respond in those situations, things that maybe families have not been familiar with in the past, and give it a different way to approaching problem solving and developing those skills. Additionally, it's really important for us that families understand their rights and opportunities to advocate for their child, not only their rights within our own services, but within IEPs, within the services that may be available statewide through waivers and things like that. And again, we have really knowledgeable staff, but we're not the end all be all, and there's other great resources. So we know when our knowledge stops how to wrap other people in on that. And so families can advocate for their kiddos. We go to lots of IEP meetings and doctor's appointments and therapy appointments, not always to be the champion in those situations, but sometimes just to listen and to hear and help support our families in the goals that they've set for their children, and just to be that supportive person. We also work towards preparing for successful transitions. It's a big deal to go from special education preschool to kindergarten, from elementary school to middle school to high school. And what happens after high school? Moving between houses, there's a new baby. There's lots of big things that happen in people's lives. And we want to make sure that they're set up for that success and have plenty of time to transition into that. So those are some things we work on also. And then increase awareness of community resources. Like I said, we want people to know what's out there, not that they have to use what we've told them's out there, but that they are aware of what is available to their family so they can make the best choices for their family, put them on the right path that they want. And then there should be another bullet point here that's like, the sky's the limit, the end all be all, right? We can, whatever a family needs, whatever they're working towards, we want to support them on that. Whether that's riding an airplane for the first time, or getting a waiver, or getting a diagnosis, or, making pancakes, right? The sky is really the limit. Whatever our goal is to your family is incredibly important and valuable to us. And where our limits reach, then we find who can help. Nothing is fully off limits. So within reason, of course. So kind of back to what we talked about, how people qualify. You are a provider or you're a family and you're interested in our services. What does that mean for you? So it's important to know that our services are a state-funded service. So there is no cost to the family. However, that means we do have a wait list for our services. And they do have to qualify for our services and have at least one significant delay in one domain. At the minimum to qualify. So to get hooked up with our services, we just need some sort of referral. It could be if you're a provider, you're sending us the information, or you're a parent and you want to see if we can be helpful. You give us a call, you shoot us an email, whatever's the most convenient to you, and we suss out if we would be the best fit for you, how we can help and understand that, collect all that information, and at which time we decide like, yes, we can help with that. Yes, that's something we'd love to help you with. Sounds like your kiddo would qualify. Then we want to schedule an enrollment appointment where we would do that assessment. It is a developmental screening. We use the developmental profile 4. And like I said, it goes over cognitive, social, emotional, adaptive, physical, and communication. And again, kiddo doesn't have to be delayed in all those areas. It just needs to be significant in at least one area, and we'll determine that on the phone with you if they qualify or not. At that point, they are eligible for our services, but of course, like any service, we need lots of paperwork filled out, and we also need a secondary report. Basically, we need to know that there's someone else who has eyes on this kiddo, that they say, oh yes, they do need services, they do need supports. And that can be your pediatrician, a report from your pediatrician. That can be if you have speech or physical or occupational therapy or an IEP, anything like that. And that paperwork a family signs for us allows us to request those reports on their behalf. So the family doesn't need to produce that paperwork at the time of the appointment. That's something we have to be able to get access to. This will also help us better understand the client's needs, and also help us better, write their plan of care when we get to that point. So all that information is really important. If they're a family who doesn't have access to other resources, hasn't been to the pediatrician in a while, doesn't have therapy, doesn't, they don't go to school yet, that does not eliminate them from our services. We still would love to talk to them, love to get them in our services, but part of that will probably be, you probably do need to go to the pediatrician, right? If you're qualifying for our services, your doctor should know, right? There should be some other medical people on your team saying, yes, we do see this. So it doesn't eliminate you, but we are going to encourage that person to go see their doctor and, rule out that there's not something else going on. They might qualify for other supports and be able to get some other referrals by going to their pediatrician. So not having a team doesn't mean we can't help you, but then that's going to be our job to kind of help you develop that team after that. And then last, we do have a wait list, right? Which is kind of the hard part, but we do try to determine our wait list based on need. So all the information from the point that we've met you, the assessment, your reports, that's all helping us determine where you're going to be on that wait list. And that's something that we can share with you at the time of the appointment. If you're a provider and you have a better understanding of this family and their needs, and there are specific circumstances going on that you were able to share with us, that is always super helpful to know, because then we try to assess those needs as higher. And if you're a parent who there's, substantial stress going on in your life and specific circumstances that are making it even harder to parent a child with disabilities, and you feel comfortable sharing those things with us, that's really helpful to us also, because again, we try to assess those needs the best that we can and get to the people with the greatest need first. It's not a perfect system, but we do our best. And then why our services are important, or why I'm really proud to share with you all the hard work we do. So we collect a lot of data, as a lot of services do. And so some things to share. We are obviously evaluating people to qualify for our services, and then we're evaluating them annually to make sure that they still qualify and also see their growth. So when we're evaluating our clients about once a year, we're showing that clients who qualified for our services, so they have a significant delay or disability, they are growing. About a fourth of our clients are showing growth in their overall development, their general development compared to their peers annually, which is huge. You're someone with a developmental delay and disability, and a quarter of our clients are showing growth annually, which is a really big deal. And then when we look at like just comparing them to themselves, instead of comparing them to their like age appropriate peers, we're showing that our clients are showing growth in 3 of their different domains annually. So that's like communication, cognitive, social, emotional, physical. And if you work with someone with disabilities or a parent with child disabilities, you know that making one new skill, you know, in a few months is a big deal. So showing growth in 3 domains every year is huge. That's amazing. And then we're also showing that the goals that we're helping families set for themselves, the goals that they're coming to us and saying, please help us. How do we work on this? We're showing that all of our clients are meeting about 40% of their goals every year. And what this tells us, I mean, you know, my team you'd be hard pressed to find someone on my team who would claim the success to be ours, right? This isn't us creating success. This is families creating success for their children and their families, right? And this shows not that our services are the greatest ever, but that families with children with disabilities are growing and achieving and learning and changing, and they're worth our time, our energy, our money, to invest in them and help them meet their goals. And it's really important. So if you're interested in our family education and support services, here's our contact information. I'll have it on the last slide also. But here is our phone number, our fax number, our enrollment coordinator's email. His name is Josh. Obviously our website, and then our address. And if you've been familiar with us in the past, we've moved a few different times, but we have recently moved to our new address, which is listed there. And this is hopefully our permanent address for some time now. So please feel free to come see us also. Were there any questions that we want to address on the family education and support before I moved into the life enrichment services, or do you just want me to wait till the end, Kayla?
I only saw one other one. So Beth found the name of the services in Flathead County. And so the question is, so if that's through CDC, are we not allowed to use it if we're on the Big Sky waiver through Spectrum Health?
Yes, that is correct. So if you have waiver services, whether if it's the Big Sky waiver, the physical disability waiver, or the 0208 waiver for developmental disability, you cannot have those waiver services and have family education and support services at the same time. That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And I don't think there was any other ones that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. So our life enrichment services. These are still services for people with developmental disabilities, but this is more focused on adult services, but we also have some youth services as well. So our basic services, before I kind of give you the details of how we, you know, achieve these goals, we do have a life enrichment center, which is a day program. And then we have an after school program, which is for youth after school. And then we also have our supported living services, which is outside of our center. It's basically picking someone up and going out into the community and working on those skills in real time, giving real examples of, you know, adaptive skills, social emotional skills, things like that. Our services are funded through either the 0208 waiver or private pay resources also. Yes, that was all I had to say there. So what are life enrichment services look like? What are we doing in these programs? What are we working on in these services? So we are, when people think of day program, they think of, like basic health and safety needs, right? And that is true. We want to keep everyone healthy. We want to keep everyone safe, but we want to do so much more than that. We really want to take that time and make it really valuable time that we're spending with these individuals. And so some of the things that we work towards are, we want to develop, help our individuals develop connections within the community, making new friends, doing going to new resources in the community. We want to help them identify things that they enjoy, right? We focus a lot on where people are lacking, where they're falling short, where they don't have the skills. And those things are important, but also what do you want to do with your life? What's really valuable to you, right? We know as typical developing adults, having hobbies and interests, those are things that sustain us and fill our cup, even when we don't have the skills, right? So helping people identify, we had an individual who really wanted to try and learn to crochet. So I think the whole staff learned how to crochet also, right? We want to develop that skill if that's an interest of someone. We have people who enjoy music. We have people who enjoy video games, airsoft guns, My Little Pony. And these are things that we want to invest time in for them too, that they're important. If those are interests and likes of yours, they're interests and likes of ours, and we're going to invest time in it. We want to help people pursue opportunities out in the community to do new things. Like we go to the pumpkin patch and we go to the park, we go to the zoo. We want to be out in the environment and exploring and being in our community, right? I talked about at the beginning how, the standard not so long ago used to be to keep people behind closed doors, right? People did not want to see people with disabilities out in the community. And luckily, we're in a time where that is the exact opposite. We want to be out and loud and proud in the community because people with disabilities are valued members of our community and they should be engaging with it if they choose so. We also seek opportunities to volunteer out in the community and give back to the community. Most recently, I think in the last year or so, we've spent some time volunteering at the Audubon Center. We also like to help people build their vocational skills. This is not like a job coaching service. However, if someone has goals of being a waitress or being, working at a coffee shop or being in areas that they enjoy, then there's skills you have to develop before you can hold that job, right? Cleaning, writing, taking orders, carrying dishes, cooking, right? So those are things if someone has identified that this is a goal for them, why we can't, help them, have that job, we can really develop a lot of skills that will help them hold that job in the long term. We also want to help them value those relationships that they have developed, those natural friendships and family relationships, and what skills go into being an adult friend, and what we have to do to build those social skills. We want to work on all the skills, especially, things that they may be lacking. They're qualifying for our services because they have a disability, right? And they need additional support. So taking time to identify, making more time to work on those fine motor skills, gross motor skills. We have a gentleman who has been with us a really long time and for the longest time has had a goal to independently take himself to the restroom. And it has taken many years, and just of recently he has mastered that skill. And that was something that was really, really important to him. And now he has the confidence that he can do that on his own. And what a joy for us to walk with him through that and find different ways to achieve that goal. And then, providing emotional support and encouragement. In lots of different ways. We believe in the individuals that we serve. We believe that their voice and their wants and their dreams have value. And we want to make sure they have a seat at all tables, that they get to reach those goals that they want. And then also developing some of those social emotional skills that they may be lacking in. We have people who, we're working on, check-ins. So before we have, like an outburst, that we're taking time to share what our feelings are before we get to that point, and getting that one-on-one time to maybe journal or do something important to them that helps them check in with themselves. So we can avoid maybe, age inappropriate behaviors that would come from frustration or not being heard and things like that. We also have a behavioral support specialist on staff at this program, and she creates some really unique behavioral protocols and things to help address people's needs. We see behaviors as a reaction to, not having your communication skills, not having your needs met. And so, we're not looking to get rid of people's needs or people's communication. We're looking to replace that with a positive resource and something they can help advocate for themselves. So we're working with communication devices and trying to find ways to meet their sensory needs and being really creative about it. And again, why our services are important, what we're working towards. About 90% of our clients are meeting about 70% of their goals annually. These are goals that they've identified, things that they want to achieve, they want to work towards. Like I said, whether that's crocheting, cooking, toileting, fine motor skills, job skills, interpersonal skills, we are setting goals. We're helping them set goals for themselves that they want to achieve and work towards. And every year they're achieving most of them, which is really great. And then 100% of our clients, or almost, are participating in a life planning framework prior to their personal support plan meeting with the state for kids who have waiver services. And basically, we are sitting down and being so mindful about what they want to achieve. It's kind of goes back to that. If the example of, if you want to go on vacation, you have to plan it yourself. It's the same. If you want to achieve these goals or have these things, we have to plan it out. And so sitting down and figuring out what that person wants, besides, living healthy and safe in their community, what are those, unique things to them that they want? How can we help them get there? So if you think our services would be valuable to you, your adult with a disability or your child with a disability, please feel free to reach out. This is our location. We're on Central Avenue, and we, would love to set up a tour. You can come see us, talk to us, see if we'd be a good fit for you and you for us, and just kind of explore that option for you guys. And then here's all that contact information I promised you guys. So there's my information, there's our family education and support services information, our life enrichment center, and Marissa is our manager over there. And then our renewal recovery residents, if anyone's interested in those services, and the manager of that program is Amanda. So that's the end of my presentation. Any questions I can answer?
Well, hi, this is Matt Furlong, and I'm in Helena, and I must have missed something, but where are you located? I see your
Right.
address, but what cities are you in? Billings?
Yeah, we're in Billings. So our family education services, they travel to other counties, but then our life enrichment center is located in Billings.
Okay, so like for family education and support, what is your circumference? Do you travel the state, or do you kind of do you have like a certain radius around Billings?
Yes, we are in 11 counties. We're in Yellowstone, Carbon, Bighorn. I went too far. Muscle Shell. Of course, I can never remember them off the top of my head, but I think Helena is a different service area. So yeah,
Okay.
Carbon, Bighorn, Stillwater, Sweetgrass, Golden Valley, Muscle Shell, Wheatland, Judith, Fergus, and Petroleum. And I don't have that information readily accessible. It's across my office, but I can get that information to you at the end if you'd like, who serves your area.
Okay, I think it's Ability, Montana, but
Okay.
yeah,
I have it pulled up. So the Part C services, there's 5 different regions. And so is that what we're looking at? Part C, or are we looking at FE?
Yeah, Part C and FES would be the same. So we're the
Okay.
only region where it's split between 2 agencies. All the other regions are the same. So is it the
Got
CDC
you.
or
So family outreach would be Helena region. Child Development Center, again, that's like up in Missoula, Flathead. Region 2 would be Great Falls, and North is Benchmark Human Services, and then Region 1, which is the eastern part of the state, is Developmental Educational Assistance Program, DEAP.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Thank-
thanks for that clarification.
I feel like this stuff can get really, yeah, all the acronyms and all the services and all the, I know for me personally, my brain has always just been like, now what are we talking, like, what are we doing this for? Like, because I work, I work with stuff for my son. And we worked with ECI as well. And so, yeah, I think just having, someone that can help like guide you through those so that you don't have to remember all those little I mean, I'm learning more and more about it each day, but I think when you're like in the trenches of it, it's really hard to know what you're supposed to be doing, and planning for the future seems hard when you're just trying to get through the day or get the kids to school or get
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I just saw a question pop up. Does your life enrichment services have a waiting list for services?
We do not. We have openings right now for both our day program and our after school program. The manager of that program is going to be on leave for 3 weeks, so we won't be onboarding anyone for a few weeks, but please still reach out and we can get you scheduled for a tour or set up some time to get to know you for when she comes back.
Awesome.
I have a
Ballpark.
question real quick. Sorry, Kayla. So your programs go up to age 21. Do you guys help with that transition into whatever programs or services they can qualify for after that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, our FES program particularly goes to 21, but at the age of 16, someone with developmental disability eligibility qualifies for targeted case management services through the state of Montana. And so we refer them to that person and help with that transition to that new team member and what adult services look like, adult disability services look like. So we help with that transition, and then that person carries them through life.
They asked what is the private pay, like ballpark private pay for the life enrichment services?
Yeah, so it starts at about $12 an hour, I believe. And then it does adjust based on need. So if someone needs more one-on-one care, that might adjust the cost of things. So that's about what it starts at an hour, but there is a little wiggle room and it just depends on your needs, and we would have to meet and assess what that looks like.
And then, life enrichment is also only available if you're not on Big Sky, the Big Sky waiver.
Right. No, having the Big Sky waiver would not eliminate you from our services. I believe you would still be able to private pay for sure for our life enrichment services. I feel like, don't quote me on this, we'd have to talk, but I feel like we have accepted that waiver before for our services. So it's something we'd have to definitely visit about, but it does not eliminate you from our services.
And then what about, I just thought about like for some of the families that I work with that receive respite, could respite help pay for like even just like the after school program or
Yeah, I mean, we've never had that before. I've never looked into it because it's not like a one-on-one
yeah,
sort of thing. But it's definitely something we can look at.
okay.
Definitely worth asking the question, but we have not had someone approach us with a respite waiver before and asked us to use that for that service, but we can look into it.
Okay. Just my wheels are spinning now. Just
Yeah,
for all
no, that's a good question. It's a good thing for me to think about too.
I just know that's a big one, is where do these kiddos go that have complex care needs after school? I know that that's a huge,
Yeah.
need in our, well, I mean, I think in any community, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I think our after school program definitely serves a niche of families, but I know that funding piece is still really hard. We always think of, people, kids need somewhere to go when mom and dad still have to work 8 to 5, right? And, daycare is no longer an appropriate option, or, the Boys and Girls Club's not a realistic solution. I think that's where, our program could be a really great opportunity. We also think about people in high school, what's going to happen after high school? Are they going, is your loved one someone who's going to need a day program? And if that's the case, maybe trying out the after school program and getting used to what that environment looks like a little bit before you go straight from high school to a day program. Like, that's a big transition if you've not been used to it. So, even though we're open, 5 days a week, someone doesn't have to come 5 days a week. We've had people who just come 1 day a week or 2 days a week just to kind of dip their toes into what a day program looks like, and help someone with that transition, and for us to get to know that person. It's also important, I forgot to share that after school program, we are also open. We're closed for all major holidays, but we're also open on PIR days, spring break, Christmas break, things like that. So when mom and dad still have to work, that there's still somewhere safe and meaningful that someone can go.
Yeah. What for the day program, is there are there age restrictions? I'm just thinking also like for the kids this summer when they're not in school.
Yes. That's a good point, because then I feel like I missed a couple details. So thanks, Kayla. Our after school program then does switch to a summer program in the summer. So then our after school kids can come all day. There are not, as far as like an age cap, there's not an age cap. We serve adults to, as long as it's appropriate for our environment. But we haven't served anyone younger than like 10, I believe. But that's not a hard and fast rule. It kind of depends on that person's needs. They definitely need to be school aged.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, I know I learned a lot, so thank you so much for being our presenter this month. That was
Yeah.
awesome wealth of information and knowledge. And if anybody has questions about where those services are located in their area, you can send Beth and I an email as well, and we can get you in contact with Rhea or with whoever it is in your area that would serve your area. Oh my God, my words are not working very well. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was really a treat to be able to present our services, and thanks everyone for listening and asking great questions. I appreciate you having me.
Well, I hope that you guys all there will be a recording of this up on our YouTube page as well. So if anyone wants to go back and get any information from this, that will be up probably next week, I'm assuming. So thank you guys for joining us this month, and we will see you guys next month.